Dave, welcome to the podcast. It is always nice to come on here after a win, and I don't know if you were paying attention, but the seal has been broken.
Yes, it has.
Is there something going on? Are you like leaving straight to an Bengals get like an outdoor?
Now,
What's going on? What's happening?
Is it just me, or if you don't make the playoffs, you're not allowed to have heat in the basement? So it's cold down here until till next year. If I have to make the playoffs, then I'll be able to turn the heat on down here.
Oh, okay.
We have to cut corners, when you don't make any money. So, but yeah. So yeah.
Is it true that you were banking on winning and you've gambled away the entire Hillbilly Harrison savings account?
Yeah, I have what 3 weeks to earn it all back on DraftKings.
Okay. That's the plan.
Yep. It's a good plan. It'll work.
Yeah.
What could go wrong?
Yeah, exactly. This is why neither of those apps, DraftKings or FanDuel, are on my phone because how bad I am at fantasy football. Just imagine how bad I would be at regular betting football.
Yeah, I need the $760 plus I need the $50 extra that I owe Adam. That's already gone.
Yeah.
And the 50 I won, that's gone. It's all gone.
Yeah.
You ever see a Vegas Vacation?
Yeah, exactly. So
do you know
you gamble more like cousin? You gamble more like cousin Eddie than what's the boy's name in there?
I have some money buried in the yard. You want to come help me look for it?
Exactly.
So hey, let's get to these awards before we get.
Well, not that I want to sway you at all, because as big of a victory as I had, you might want to consider a person that invites you over to their home and fries chicken for you. I'm just going to throw that out there.
And I did. I thought long and hard, and if it was just based on the win itself, there were 4 wins. Some of them were pretty well decided on pretty early on. Kill my cat here for a second. Yeah. But there was a nice Monday night one that was still in doubt, and if it was just based on that, big win for Andy, comes back, gets the win. But come on. This was a monumental for you to 2017, was that it was?
2017, okay. Brother.
You get it and to get it first round of the playoffs. Like that's what a time.
Hey, if you're going to get one.
You got to win, and you want to win big. You want to make sure you win. And the only way to make sure you win is to score higher than everybody. So it didn't matter who you played. You would have won. So, Kevin, and you know what else? You know what I'm going to do? It's more symbolic than anything, but
we're retiring it.
Getting put away. You're going to have to earn it back by being a loser for probably at least a half a season.
Okay.
And then if you're, if you start off bad and old Kevin comes back, guess what's coming back? But no, it won't be seen again for this season. I don't care if you lose next round. You're not a loser in my mind. So good job, Kevin. You are.
Thank you.
The Miller Time Team of the Week for getting. Who would have thought that a measly $10 would be worth so much?
Oh yeah, that's what. It's so funny. Like we talk so much about. It's like, if it wasn't, the money makes everything a little bit more fun. It's just like some of the guys in this league, or the 4 that watch this will know. Like we go down to Andy sometimes and play Jick Jack, and it's like that extra $1 for jack. It's just like the biggest deal in the world. But like honestly, like none of this is about money, right? It's just about fun and competition, but it just like sweetens the pot a little bit.
Those nights on the way there, I would go in and buy like candy and a Coke and spend more than I lose at Jick Jack. Well, there were some bad nights.
But it would burn you up to lose $1 losing a jack, right? It's like, man, that is so that's just the fun of it. But well, thank you. I appreciate it. It was a big win, and it wasn't like, like I had to wait on it. You know what I mean? It was, not the win, but because Junior didn't show up. But
what a pansy.
But well, when you get a 25 on your defense on Thursday night, that's a good start, right?
Yeah. And I wasn't, I wasn't confident by any means because it was me involved, but the way the season had been going and all the turning that happened on Monday nights, I just
Oh yeah,
assumed that both
yeah,
that
yeah,
Andy would win because that's what was happening, and that either Travis or me would pass you,
yeah.
because that's what
Well,
happened every Monday. That's what
yeah.
happens.
Rain was a big factor
Yeah.
probably on that Monday night game, kind of being low scoring and not a ton of
I don't.
you
Do you
know.
remember what that last pass to the Seattle guy? How far of a pass that was? Was it more than 30?
Yeah, I think it was right around there. The
Because
touchdown he caught.
if it would have been Metcalf, that would have been 9 points, 9 point whatever, and I might have, but it wasn't him. It was him. It
Well,
was the other guy.
and if it would have been Lockett, like
Oh
if
yeah,
Lockett
yeah,
scores
it's
that
true.
touchdown,
Oh
like
yeah,
that's it.
either one of them. So you were,
Yeah.
the third guy, and
What? Yeah, they throw a touchdown at the end of the game
who would you think it's going to go to?
to a rookie, and
Yeah.
did they say it was his first touchdown of the season?
It, I don't remember that, but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean,
Yeah, so
he's been more of a possession guy most of the
yeah,
time.
just like that whole thing was just like
Yeah.
if it goes to anybody else, but so I'll tell you, I really wanted to do something different with the Hillbilly Harrison Hillbilly of
Yeah.
the week. Obviously, I'm only concerned with the 8 teams that were in the playoffs for this.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
we're not really considering the other 4. And I really wanted to give it to Rennie because Rennie got beat on Monday night, and Rennie is the Monday night guy. Like he loved,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But when I went back and looked at Rennie's lineup, unfortunately, there was nobody on Rennie's bench that
Would have mattered.
Yeah, no. And there was no Monday night guys really, and honestly, Rennie, other than he could have benched Barkley and played Jones, but that would have been not enough to get him the win, And so Rennie just had a down week, and Junior, on the other hand, he said it, I mean, not that it would have made a difference, but he left plenty of points on his bench.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It could have been more competitive. It would have
a little
been
more respectable.
Yeah. So,
but, I mean,
just coming out, and I mean, he took a playoff spot, because we were talking about him getting that win the last week. He took a playoff spot from potentially you, potentially Ed, and both of you scored 110, and again, that wouldn't have been enough against me, but who knows how the seeding would have broken down. Just anybody would have been more competitive than Junior this week.
Yeah, I would have loved to have been in Ratty's spot. That would have been awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, just Junior, made the playoffs, but then didn't take advantage of being there and really didn't show up, and I know he's injuries. But just we talked about it. Taysom Hill didn't show up in that game, and Odell Beckham Jr. didn't show up. His running backs didn't show up, and I don't know why he's still starting a Jets wide receiver. That dude didn't show up, but
yeah.
So, but just in kind of doing that, we kind of talked about most of the matchups, but we'll just recap them really quick. Travis had a big win. We were talking about him. He was vying for high points, didn't end up getting it because Lockett really just, had a down night. But if he gets anything from Lockett, and honestly, if McManus doesn't miss.
Yeah, he missed
2 50-yard field goals, and then had one that Trevor Lawrence botched, that they didn't have a final play at the end of the first half where they should have kicked a field goal. So, I mean, let's just give him 9 points. 9 points for that, and he's the high points winner.
Even if he's 50-yarders used to be like a big deal. Now, but throw those away. They really botched that play at the end of the half. They were on the 4-yard line. They threw it out, and the receiver didn't get out of bounds, and they didn't have time. You don't do that. You don't give up.
Not with no timeouts. Just take the points.
Yeah, and you weren't even and it wasn't even a play they were trying to score on. They were just trying to get
Yeah.
a little bit closer.
Yeah.
You know,
So, yeah.
that 3 points would have made the difference.
Yeah. So, but Brian had a down week.
Oh yeah,
We'll talk more about him. But like you said, you just can't recover after going -7
yeah,
on defense. So,
yeah, because
that,
that's not just a. I mean, usually you don't get a lot of zero. Seems like defensive scores. It's either negative or it's but
yeah.
so even if he gets 5 out of his defense, that's the difference to 12 points. So that, and add in one more player that didn't do well, and he's right there with with
Yeah.
Travis. But
Yeah. And then we had Andy versus Rennie. We talked about Andy
yeah,
with the big Jalen Hurts. Jalen honestly just did enough, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
he
it
got
was,
enough points from everybody else. And so, it took a while. It wasn't like it was instant, but he had a lot of points to make up. So,
he did.
give it
Although,
to Andy.
I thought it was higher, but I guess it was what 40, but he ended up scoring 50. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you get 20 out of your quarterback, you get hopefully 10 out of your running back, you get another, 10 from a kicker. But I mean, it wasn't a gimme, that's for
No,
certain.
no, no, no. But I'll say Walker really made the difference.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that late, like him getting that score. He ended up with 17. Yeah,
yeah.
he got a lot of yards at the end there. So
Yeah. And like we said, Rennie just, Allen had I think Allen said it himself, like about the football game, because they have this newfound running game, and he said that he felt like a guy that was contributing on a group project that did nothing and got an A.
yeah,
I mean? And Rennie
yeah,
probably feels the same way
bad
about Allen's
a bad
performance.
week to experiment with your play calling.
Yeah, from a fantasy perspective, they
Yeah,
got
from
the
a
win,
fantasy.
but yeah, and then you know Josh was never really in his match.
No.
Adam ended up with 108, and so really Miami defense set
Oh
the
yeah,
tone for him, and then getting some decent games from Rice and Cup, and then his running backs have been solid, so over 10 for both of those. Murray wasn't great, but just I always that threshold 100 or more. Andy got to
yeah.
101. That's really made a big difference for him to be able to get to
And
100.
honestly, he could have played anybody that he would have played. Like he had a couple guys, like Olave was out. He wouldn't have played Foreman because he hadn't been getting a lot. Collins was hurt, but if he would have played, he could have played Swift, Ferguson, Cleveland defense. Any of those 3 would have been solid
Yeah,
choices, and it wouldn't have mattered. He still would have scored enough.
yeah, yeah. And then I defeated Junior. And then just an honorable mention is that both you and Ed in the consolation bracket scored 110. Both of you were kind of vying for high points there for a little bit. Didn't end up coming, but
I mean, there was a minute there where Ed was like projected in the 130s, but
yeah,
then
he
he
slowed
Will Levised
down.
himself right out of that.
And honestly, Lee, great bounce back game, even though probably a week too late,
Yeah.
but 41 for Goff. And I'm sure that Lee's like, where was that, a couple
When he
weeks
needed
ago?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and for Lee, that was with going negative on defense as well, -4. But it was great to see Lee down at
Yeah.
Andy's the other night. So before we transition into looking at the matchups coming up, what I wanted to do was that we lost some guys this week.
Yeah,
Okay,
we did.
so 4 out of our 8 playoff teams will no longer be competing for playoffs. They're still in it for high points, and
Yeah.
it wouldn't surprise me as we dwindle to less teams in the playoffs if our high points doesn't end up coming from one of the teams that's outside the playoffs. So there's reason to set your lineup. There's reason to
Yeah,
do
like at
all
this
those
point, would
things.
you bet the playoff teams or would you bet the field?
With Travis and Adam, I would probably bet the playoffs, but it's close. Like
Yeah.
the Rennie and Adam would know this, the money's probably on the field side just because of how well the field played last week. And now you're going to add more teams to that bunch. But so here's what we're going to do, Dave. I'm going to, I made some props. All right. So this is going to be fun. I'm going to show you one of our recently exited playoff coaches, and you tell me, just kind of like reminisce a little bit. Yeah. Reminisce a little bit when you see them, just what you remember about their season. Okay. What you think of first? All right. So up first, we've got.
You know what? I think we need a little mute. You know, like one of those in memoriam.
Oh yeah.
But wrong one. Old Eric Clapton. There we go. That sets the mood. Probably too loud, isn't it?
I can't even hear it.
Oh. Okay, maybe it's not too loud.
Yeah, well, it's not even playing through.
Oh man. Okay, so, picture Eric Clapton in your head, Tears in Heaven.
I'm imagining it.
All right, so we got Bad Beat Brian here. You know what? All right, that's distracting me. I gotta turn it off. Sorry, Eric Clapton. It was gonna work. So we got Lamar. He's no longer in the playoffs. We got you know, the guy that he had a really good run at the end to get him there, Deebo Samuel, out of the playoffs. You know, look at that face. How can you kick that guy out of the playoffs right there? Midland or mid whatever that is. I don't even know what that is.
I think it's his son's baseball team or something.
I see.
I'm gonna guess. Yeah.
But yeah, you know, up and down season for Brian. You know, he lived up to his bad beat here and there. You know, Jackson had kind of a resurgent year. He had to, you know, get some people. Lamb had some big weeks for him. I just mentioned Deebo had some big weeks for him. Some injuries to people. I think he's got you know, that kind of dropped off, and you got Money Mac that won him some, you know, got him some points. So, you know, it's a big loss to the league to have Brian out of the playoffs. It just look, that a face that any mother would love, you know.
Yeah, and so Brian is one of the guys that's in our league that you don't hear from often, but then every once in a while he'll jump in and and drop something in chat, like, you know, he's kind of paying attention from the outside, you know. You know, I think the Bad Beat Brian kind of developed last year because he kind of got notorious for having some bad beats, and then it just kept rolling into this year. Brian was living on that edge, out of the playoffs, playoffs, and so honestly,
he was down with me and Brennan for a lot of the time.
And so, you know, it's not surprising to me that he is out of the playoffs early, only because, you know, we were talking about this. We did the side bet, and sandwiched in between two great Brian performances was a week where I picked him to score well, and he did terrible. You know what I mean? And that's just a microcosm of his season. It was so inconsistent. He would score. Sometimes he would score well and lose. Sometimes you would think, oh, this might be a big scoring moment for him, and the team that he's playing against doesn't do that great, but Brian bombed. You know what I mean? It's just like he just couldn't ever get any real traction, and I think he's got some real heavy hitters on his team that you mentioned.
Yeah.
But they were hit or miss, or they were out. You know, Deebo's played really well all season long when he's been on the field. You know what I mean? And so there's just, you know, it's hard when you don't have.
Blew all his power and his momentum just to get to the playoffs. Is kind of what he did.
Yeah. Well,
then he
and
was
it's
out
like
of steam.
Sometimes you're like, oh, you know, because we talked about it. Adam or any of these guys that got to play these people, you're like, oh, they're coming in hot because they were fighting and clawing to get into the playoffs. And Brian did a little bit of that, but also he was so inconsistent that you were like, is he really going to string together 4 weeks in a row of high scores, or is it more likely that he's going to end up having a low week? And just so happened that this was a low week for him. So be interested to hear what you have to say about our next coach. All right.
Okay.
This is our good friend.
Oh man.
Team league nice guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what can you say about this guy? I mean, he's it just brings a tear to your eye that you have to knock this guy out of the league, or
Oh,
out of the playoffs.
if you were gonna give a team a mulligan, everybody would
Yeah,
be like, "Oh, give him one," right? Everybody wants him back in there.
but it's kind of one of those. Wouldn't you like to see what the first round would have been if he had Keenan Allen healthy, if he had Tyreek Hill healthy? Because if he had Tyreek, then he probably would have played Tua. But
Yeah,
without that, he didn't. He played Stafford, who did all right. But you go into your playoffs missing three of your big guns like that in their prime. You just and then your running backs get you 4 points or whatever. You just put up this. You don't put up a fight to Adam. But the two we've talked about this last week. How you know in my head I felt like the Tua Hill combination was unstoppable all season, but
yeah,
it really wasn't. you
yeah.
know.
And I think that and that's kind of Josh's season. If you look at it for the entire season, he was right there at fifth, sixth, seventh place, right? And
Yeah.
and we were like, oh, Josh is fine. Josh is fine. And then he started kind of having a little bit of a dip. And we were like, well, he's got so many points because he really did start the season out well. And when he won, he could win big um, with Tua and Hill. But where did he find himself at the very end of the
Yeah.
season? You know what I mean?
But boy, the beginning of the show would have had probably a different connotation if he would have got enough out of his running backs to where that last touchdown by Smith Enigma would have put him past Adam.
Oh,
If
yeah.
he was just close enough to
Yeah.
where it mattered, that would have been, to have two games like that, that would have been awesome. But it
Yeah.
wasn't. He was too far behind because he had like three spots. He played, he got Goddard back in time for the playoffs, but sometimes that's not a blessing in disguise, because a guy's first game isn't always his best. He's not quite there
Right.
yet, and the rain didn't help and all that. But so yeah, so it was kind of the perfect storm of not having enough people facing Adam, who wasn't gonna have a letdown week. Well, really none of the four playoff teams. I mean, everybody scored above 100. Yeah, so like
Yeah.
if you didn't score above 100, you weren't gonna make it. So
Yeah. And
just one of those things.
which here over the last month has been a problem for Josh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
So
we hate to see him go. It'll be interesting to see if, thinking about next year's draft, if a team will try what's the projection for Tua Hill a year from now?
I know.
Like better or worse than, because I feel like that last year was his first year there and those two kind of like blew up together. Tua started out slow and then got better. I mean, of the two of them, Hill was probably more consistent
Yeah.
than Tua. But is that a combo that somebody will try to get next year in the draft? It's just
Yeah.
interesting to think about.
I don't know because I mean, some of those you got teams out there where you can support having a starting quarterback, running backs, and wide receivers, and they had such a big Mostert and that a King. They had so much running back points, and they weren't all screen passes.
Yeah.
That kind of cut into Tua's thing a little bit. So yeah, it'll like Hill definitely people will want because he had some big. He'll win you 5 weeks, or at least put you
Yeah.
in, get you 20 points every now and then. So he'll be up high, but I don't know about the Tua thing. Like that'll be interesting because there's more quarterbacks that seem like they had more consistently better weeks.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about all winter
Oh
slash
my
spring.
goodness. You know, the thing I kind of losing Joe Burrow, like
Yeah.
that, and if he would have had, if he would have known that what nobody knew, that he could have just had Browning on his bench and ready to plug and play, that he would have,
Yeah.
been solid for. I don't know if it would have mattered looking back, like whether he would have won a few more weeks. He wouldn't have won this week with triple Browning's points, but uh, but yeah, that losing Burrow, look at that face. That's
Yeah.
a face nobody loves. But what can you do? Maybe we're not as sad that he's leaving because he shouldn't have been there in the first place. Is that what you're trying to say? Is that what you're getting at?
I think he was a playoff pretender. I think
Okay.
that, we gave Ed a lot of grief for not kind of slacking off there towards the end. But the truth is that if Ed sets his lineup week 14, he makes it into the playoffs and he scores 110, and that changes everything that we're talking about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like Ed and Lee kind of systematically pissed theirs away, their playoff chances. Me and Brennan fought, but fought too late. we got better, way too late. And Junior just was enough just to hang around and steal that spot.
And Junior had some third quarter of the season. Junior had a resurgence and put up some really big numbers. Maybe towards, as Bro got hot, then he kind of got hot and he had some, but for the most part, most of the season, it was pretty dicey. I mean, early on in the season, maybe it was week 2 or 3, Junior got a victory versus me where he scored 60 points. And so I got to take blame for that because I let him do that. And I had points on my bench that could have, but like he got a couple wins that maybe, would have kept him out. But
and I mean, you look at, he had a good team. Like he had a lot of, even his bench guys, like he had, maybe some of that was the problem.
He had 4 great running backs, and I probably bet Junior probably needed to see if somebody could make a trade. You know what I mean? He probably needed to move off of one of those guys.
And like he, even had Myers on his bench that scored 15 on the first round of the playoffs, but he was on his bench, and he's kind of one of those guys you don't know whether to start him which weeks, but and Beckham had some good weeks, but it's like, when you got these guys on your bench that do well,
it's tough. I don't have that luxury.
I didn't either.
My guys are either starting or on IR. That's
exactly.
Sometimes
that's not a bad place to be.
I will say this, out of the 3 guys we've talked about, this guy participates in fantasy football, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's in the chat. He pays attention. He loves to. He showed up to Andy's. He loves to yuck it up with us. And so, Junior, don't ever change. Okay, we love you. All right. Last but not least, we've got.
Look at that. Look at that. Josh Allen is out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
And he picked a bad week to score 10, or I guess he ended up with 18. That's really not that bad, But he could, he's had weeks with 40 or 30, and that would have been like 11 more points was not out of the question for Josh Allen a lot of weeks.
So I'll tell you what I'm going to think about for Rennie's team, and then you can kind of add in there. I think he peaked too soon.
Okay.
He had that, was it 7 weeks in a row? Win streak, and then he lost 2 in a row. The last week of the season, and then he lost the first round of the playoffs. And so Rennie had, his success came too late to challenge Adam or Travis for one, because those guys both started out so well. And then to have it fall off, like just if he would have shifted that forward a little bit, that could have helped him out.
Josh Allen, St. Brown, and Mike Evans were like 2 of the top receivers all season long, and that helped him a lot. He got 0 out of his tight end this week, and not that you're going to get 11 that he needed or 10, I guess 10 points, 11 points, whatever, out of your tight end, but getting a 0, that sucks on week 1. But I think you're onto something there. Although he's not afraid of losing a bunch or winning a bunch in a row, because he's done it before. Some of us, like, we're like, wait a minute, if we've won 4 in a row, we probably ought to lose one because we're not going to win out, But he knows what it's like to win out. Not very many people do.
No, he definitely popped that champagne when Adam lost. I can't remember what week was that. Who beat him?
I don't remember.
Oh, it was me.
Oh, was it you? That's right. It was you.
I keep receipts.
Yes, you do. So, old Skanks out of the playoffs.
Yeah. So that's our 4. Those are our 4 guys that that made the playoffs, but now have taken a hiatus. Dave, I just want you to know that, unlike some of these big ESPN shows and maybe Pat McAfee or whatever, I had to make all these by myself. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So I printed these out on my printer. They're stuck to, you'll appreciate this, Dave. They're stuck to the back of a Mountain Dew case.
I do like
my
that.
My wife gave me some popsicle sticks there, and we taped that on there. So no production team, no no intern that I just get to hand these to. These were handmade by me for tonight's show, and just this is the kind of dedication that we have to this podcast. And I'm telling you right now, there's going to be a text that goes out tomorrow morning because I can't just do this for two people. Okay. We got to, even though the season is over for a lot of these guys, they got to tune in and watch. Okay. So
what would, not, if we're talking what would you do if somehow, like, you woke up one morning and there were like 3,000 or 30,000 views? Like, it just exploded. Like, somehow it went spread and they're like, hey, look at these two idiots talking about their fantasy league. And
well, the first thing I'd have to do is probably call my elders and be like, hey, we're going to have to have a meeting. A meeting.
If 30,000, the chances of somebody seeing you do this is probably pretty good.
It's going to be like, we need to have a talk. Okay. Just real quick.
That's true. Yeah. I don't know if YouTube monetizes that,
Yeah. 30,000 views, probably not enough for us to quit our day jobs.
That would at least get me the entry money back,
Maybe, yeah. You might be able to pay for the money you lost in gambling. So
no, I'm better at that than I am at least this year.
Fantasy.
Yeah, like
I would hope so.
I'm a degenerate gambler. I'm not in Rennie's league, Rennie's league, because I don't do it the same way he does, but I'm ahead. So,
Okay, there you go. Well, for this coming week's matchup, again, games like Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, double games on Monday. We've got, this is Christmas Eve, Christmas Day.
Yeah. Are there two on Sunday or on Monday, Christmas?
That's what somebody said. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, verify that.
But I guess the good thing is that the four teams that are in are paying attention, and they're not gonna, Andy was ready at that Monday night in case Hurts wasn't going to play. He had Mariota right there. Not everybody even would have been. Right. There's people in the league, Kevin, that wouldn't even know that Hurts might not even have played.
Yeah. So we have our number one seed, Adam. So just FYI for those watching home, the winners were the 1, 2, 3, and 4 seeds.
Okay.
So
the top half, it was good all season, ended up making it, which, hey, it doesn't usually happen that way, but it makes sense this year that it did.
Yeah. So, we have Adam versus Andy. I don't know. Adam might not be invited back over for any chicken dinners if things go south on this weekend, but right now, just on paper, these guys could swap out some different people because of matchups and stuff like that. And I'm sure that may be coming if it hasn't already happened. But this is dead even, 98 versus 96. Looks like Andy has a slight advantage at quarterback, which you would think, because obviously Adam is hurting that he lost his quarterback. And then running backs looks super even. Wide receivers look fairly even. I'd say that Adam has a slight advantage at wide receiver.
If Pittman didn't get his back broken, it would probably be a little closer.
Yep. And then tight ends projected to be even, and both those guys, Kittle and if anybody's going to match up with Kelsey.
Oh yeah, I feel like they're the same guy.
Yeah, exactly. The defenses both have played really well, and both are playing against teams that have backup quarterbacks playing for them.
Now New Orleans is Carr still playing. Yeah, and he's been playing. he's had a couple good weeks in a row. So he's playing better, and Houston's playing worse because they've. So I'd say advantage Adam on the Cleveland.
Didn't Winston have to come in and play a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, but the last 2 weeks, Carr has like 5 touchdown passes in the last 3 weeks. So he didn't necessarily do that when I had him on my team.
Yeah. So and then we got kickers or whatever. But yeah. So it's
I'd say the Pittman injury is something to keep an eye on, and then Adam has options if he wanted to. I mean, nobody would fault him for playing Swift over anybody, and really Ferguson. Well, he's not going to take Kelsey out, but he might if Olave was healthy, which I don't know if he is or not. But then that thing is those darn Thursday games. It's like, do you really want to take a chance on somebody coming back their first week on a Thursday night? Because the way Thursday night games are, probably not.
All right, so our next one is me versus Travis. And so let me just give a little bit of history for you, okay? If you go into the app, all right, into the league thing, and you go into league history, and then you click on yourself, like it'll, at the very top, it'll say like, team performance over history, and you say more team insights, and you scroll down to the bottom. It'll tell you who you play the best against and who you play the worst against. Okay.
I've never done that.
So, all right. So my worst opponent, I don't know if you can see that, Dave, but my worst opponent is Vote Flex. I have six wins versus 12 losses. I don't know if this takes into consideration this year. It's probably all the past, but this will be my third time playing Travis. I've already lost to him twice this season. I lost to him last year in the first round of the playoffs.
Oh, no.
So I'm just, who knows what's going to happen.
You couldn't have gotten a worse draw historically.
Well, I got to play junior round 1.
That's true. Yeah.
But then to have to turn around and play Travis, who I am on record of being on this show all season long saying that Travis has got the most lethal lineup of our league. Okay. But yeah, so it's a tall order. I mean, he's projected to score 105. Yeah. And obviously, I don't think you want to be in the second round of the playoffs having to go on the waiver wire to replace your your first round draft pick, Jamar Chase. But that's exactly where I find myself, because not only is Jamar Chase injured, but Zay Jones is also
and you just haven't constructed your bench to have an extra wide receiver at this point in the season.
I think I dropped one last week because I needed, I picked up Vegas.
I'm just curious, who's this I don't know how to say his name. Wallaire? I've never heard of him. I don't even know what position he plays on your team. Waller?
Darren Waller. He's
he new? Is he a rookie?
Yeah, he's a giant that supposedly.
I'll have to do some research into him. Yeah. He sounds like somebody I might like. Okay.
Well, I'm pretty sure that he's connected somehow to Phillip Rivers. Those are two players that, like, there's this famous fantasy football guy, and he's in love with those two guys so much that no matter what, they make sure that they're on their team. So the funny thing is, I picked him up because, like, for the last couple of weeks they said he might come back and play.
He did, right?
He played last week and got like 43 yards. But I picked up McBride, and I was like, to your point, you said it before, first week back's probably not the week that you would want to go play somebody, right? And so I was like, well, let me play McBride. And then McBride did great for me last week.
Yeah. I like McBride all season.
So then I'm like, well, he did so well last week, and Waller's such an unknown. I've known people that have played Waller before, and he doesn't do anything. So, I've struggled at tight end the whole time.
And you probably need a defensive move too, don't you?
Yeah, I do not want to play Vegas against Kansas City.
And you don't want to play Baltimore against San Francisco
either. Against San Francisco. So I've got more waiver wire
Yeah.
picks in
I
for
guess the
week.
good thing is, I don't know, and maybe we're kind of winding down on the wrap up, but I've always kind of looked at, like, I generally don't make any moves if I'm out until like later in the day, Thursday,
You're not
Friday.
trying to do waivers.
No,
Yeah.
I don't ever, like, just for a chance at high points. And I mean, I've never locked, like, some leagues will lock out the non-playoff teams so that they can't
Yeah.
even do stuff. I've never gone that far because I don't, we're adults, we can, but and there's no rule that says you can't if you really want to
Well,
go.
and those teams are playing for high points too.
Yeah,
So I think
and
it's fair
especially
that
since
they can fill out a full
3 years
lineup.
ago, whatever, when we switched, I wouldn't fault anybody. I'm like, you know what? I just wait and pick up because I might make a move because I don't like there's somebody I don't want to start also, but yeah, I don't know. But I think just naturally some teams aren't really, it's not their forefront if they're already out. So they might not even look until Saturday and be like, I'll switch somebody out. So
Well, and
the good thing is you'll probably get first crack because, I mean, unless Travis gets on and tries to block you because he sees a wide receiver he doesn't want you to have.
Yeah. And, I mean, if this would have been a running back, then I would have had more options, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
Taylor's coming back but yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Like, I can't
Where are
complain.
you at on the waiver?
Oh, probably last or close to last. I
Like,
use it every week.
Ed's first, and I'm sure he doesn't even know it.
Yeah. If
Yeah.
Ed could pick up somebody and then I could trade with him. So
yeah, you're last, and Travis is right before you, so he could pick somebody.
Yeah, but
before you.
I mean,
He doesn't
I
need
have
anybody.
contingencies. I always put in for multiple guys just in case I
Okay.
don't get the one. So
Yeah.
We'll cross that bridge. But
But yeah, I
yes,
think you're probably in a decent spot with there's only probably three other teams that might make some moves tonight because people like me probably aren't even, I'm going to wait. I'm not going to put in for anybody until all the playoff teams have gotten whoever they wanted.
Yeah.
Then I'll
Well,
look for the scraps.
and the way that I try to look at it too, I'm at a disadvantage. Having Chase be out,
Yeah.
I'm at a disadvantage. All the other stuff's just like fluff, you know what I mean? Like anybody swap out a defense because they don't like the matchup, like that's normal stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Chase is not playing, and I do not have a backup now because Jones also got hurt, so that's a problem. But at the same time, that's only one position. I'm going to put somebody into that spot, and really the playoffs and fantasy in general is really about up and down this lineup. These 9 guys, will somebody have a 30-point game? Will I plugged in Vegas defense and they got 25 last week.
Yeah.
Like you don't expect that. Like that's
No.
not what you go in looking for, but it can tip a game, it can tip a matchup. And so now Travis has guys that are more likely to have 40-point games, Mahomes or McCaffrey or Waddle, you know what I mean? These guys,
especially if Hill doesn't play again.
Yeah, these guys can blow up and have huge games. So Travis has got to like his chances, but we'll see what happens when it's all said and done. Travis has had some low scoring games. He probably won't, but he has. So
what are the odds that Monday night is it Tommy DeVito just lights up Philly defense for they score 60 points and he goes -7 on his defense? And
I don't think that's likely, but
Tommy, did you see he got a different PR guy? He kept his agent that whatever
Italian kid.
Yeah, but he's not the PR guy. He got a different PR guy because he about botched up that pizza appearance. It was supposed to go to some pizza place for 10 grand, and then he wanted no, it's gonna make it. I'm Tommy DeVito. It better be 20 grand, and then it blew up, and so he went and did it for free.
Yeah, that's funny. No, I didn't hear that. So, but I did see all the photos of him on the sideline. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Once I got back in time for most of the second half Monday, and Mannings were it was kind of a fake apology, but Manning was, I guess he'd kind of made fun of that guy.
Yeah.
And so he just listed like this laundry list
because he was like, "Who is this guy?"
Yeah, he was like making fun of his. So he did this like laundry list of all season Manning cast of things that went wrong, and he apologized for everything. Because like early in the season when Eli did the double bird, he's like, that was my fault. And then like a couple weeks ago, or Nate Bergassi's dad did a magic trick, and he kind of interrupted, like it just didn't go well. And he apologized for that. It just like, it was like, I'm sorry for this and I'm sorry for that. He wasn't sorry. He didn't care.
No. So
But, yeah.
Oh well, Dave.
Yeah.
It's we're winding down. Potential of 2 episodes left if we remember to do one next week.
So
or
next
not.
week
So,
I'll have to do it in that kill basement again, because I'll be in Evansville
all week long.
from Tuesday. Well, we're not going until Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
So, and then we'll come back Thursday.
Well,
so,
and we'll see. Just for our loyal viewers. Last year we took off the Christmas week, and we just did a recap at the total end of everything. We may or may not do that. We'll Dave and I will talk and find out what his Christmas schedule is, and so
I'll be home. Like, we're not leaving until Tuesday sometime, but yeah, I'm sure I could break away and hide myself in that room and for an hour if I had to.
Yeah. So, but
because if not,
hey,
I won't be back till Friday.
Yeah.
Or till Thursday night, I guess. We can do it Thursday night. It's kind of late, but
we had a great time at Andy's. Andy, thank you for hosting. If you didn't get to make it, we'll definitely have to do that again. I don't know why, Dave, but like that next morning, I wasn't in a car accident, but I kind of felt like I was. I kind of felt like I had some whiplash, and I kind of had like just sore. It was like there was like a collision happened with my body. Do you know what that would have been about?
Well, I had to go for like the yearly physical thing and get blood drawn.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to fast I stopped eating whenever I ate my last piece of chicken, and didn't eat again until I had the appointment was at 8 or 9 or something. So, I wasn't going to eat anything anyway, because after I ate like 7,000 pieces of chicken, I was done for until, a long time. But my cholesterol stuff was like better than it was last year. So there's some healing factor in that chicken, I think.
Oh, and so what I'm hearing is Andy's fried chicken lowers cholesterol.
It did. The good kind. Like, there's good and bad.
Yeah.
I was good on the good. And then I went down and but then I looked back and I have my chart all the way back to like 2017, and it's been the same. It's been bad all these years. So what's it matter? It's no worse.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I thought I was expecting to like, man, I just loaded up on this. And my blood work's going to look really bad. But my blood pressure was fine. And now the scale was wrong. Like, I don't know why, but their scale is broken. The number was
it
really
adds
high.
20 pounds or something.
It was really high. So I got to work on that. Planet Fitness gets my money every month, but they don't always get me in the door. But
yeah. Well, fellas,
look at those guys.
Yeah, look at these guys.
Smell you later, guys.
Thanks so much for being here. Better luck next year. We're already talking about the tavern, fried chicken, the draft. That's what we're all looking forward to.